Hello, everybody, and welcome to Telling the Show.
Hello, welcome.
This is our, which episode have we got here, Denise?
Well, 3, but it's actually 4, but because 2 was 2 parts.
Right.
Yeah.
A lot of great discussion in that episode, but
it was.
Yeah, it was. This is a different kind of podcast. Denise and I are both graduates of an MFA in screenwriting program, and the kind of podcast we're trying to bring here to everyone out in the world is something that will show not just existing screenwriters that are successful. We're bringing in the up-and-comers, the folks who know their craft and they're on the verge. They're coming in hot and they're going to be successful, hopefully more so after having been on this show. I won't say whether or not that's actual. I have no statistics to back that up. But I like to think that we have a positive impact on everybody's lives because we want to share the craft of screenwriting, maybe learn a little something from each other, and have some fun along the way doing that. And who we got as our guest today, Denise?
We have, I'm going to say, like, we met each other in the late 90s. I was trying to figure it out.
Late 80s, Denise.
Oh, man, don't say that. We're spring chickens still. So, yes, we have a writer, producer, Brian McCole. He has a new project that he's going to be filming in 7 weeks.
6 weeks.
6. Woo! It's called Dull Space. What's interesting to me is that it was actually a play first, and then now he's transitioning it back into a film. And the whole process is very cool. Like, in your press packet, you talk about like how your Saturn was your creative space on that, long drive. And I'm like, I think that's something we can all associate with. So very exciting. And that's who we have today. We also have the best part for me, because I know I'm going to win.
Oh, here we go.
Logline Thunderdome. And yeah. Do you want to jump in? You want to explain?
Please do, and feel free to bring up that graphic that we love so much about it. Logline.
Yes.
2 log lines enter, 1 comes out. The idea behind this is that Denise is gonna recite a log line. I'm gonna recite a log line, and we're gonna find out which of them is the most effective by the way of the 3 C's: character, conflict, and concept. And Brian, we invite you to weigh in on that. Between the 3 of us, hopefully, we'll determine a winner. And I'm sorry, Denise, but you're going down.
I don't think so. Not this week.
Oh, boy. It's only because I tanked on the last 2,
I'm just saying, who's got the winning record?
Okay. Doesn't mean I can't win this time.
That's true. But here goes win number 3 for me.
Oh, here we go. Bring it.
All right. When a highly acclaimed one-book author learns that his childhood cancer has returned, he is encouraged to go on one last adventure with his best friend to a secret club where they may find the cure, only to question whether the cure is more deadly than the disease. Dun, dun, dun.
Interesting. Okay, so we have an author, we have a character.
Yeah.
And there seems to be a certain amount of secrecy as to what they do. I'd want to know more about the secret club a little bit.
But I think that would give it away.
Well, and so here's the trick with log lines. Brian, feel free to jump in on this anytime, but log lines, depending upon what stage they are, it's not the teaser tagline as much as, because that's what, Denise and I were trained to move away from in thinking, just get everything in there that you can in the most concise fashion. I think this is pretty concise to me. And it does cover all the ground. And at least...
Does it make you want to pick it up and read it to find out what that secret is?
That secret club, yeah, it is an intriguing point. So I have to give you props on that. So I give it points on concepts and definitely I think the character part, one book author, I'd want to know what that really kind of means. So That'd be the only thing.
He's had one book that was successful.
Right.
That's
So
basically it.
in one way, I'd wonder if we could massage that word to make it sound like he's an author, but a one-hit wonder as well. I know that's got to be tricky. So
yeah, I was going to use that one-hit wonder, but I feel like that's just overplayed and, you know, I don't know. It's a work in progress, even though the script was written like 7 years ago, but that's cool.
Hey, look, I mean, you got the intrigue going. Just saying. Brian, your thoughts?
I'm kind of in the same boat you are, Chris. I think I need more information about the club and the journey they're taking before I'm willing to, just because I'm, middle-aged and jaded at this point, before I'm willing to spend money and head down that road.
Yeah. If I put vampires in there, then I think everybody would get a completely different picture. So.
And then I would be less inclined to see it.
Exactly. That's exactly why it's not in there. So.
Okay. And honestly, vampires aren't a turn off for everybody. You might have another Lost Boys on your hands. You never know.
Well, it is a musical.
Well, wait a minute. That didn't come into it at all.
No, it did not. No, it did not.
Well, how the hell do you do that in a log line? It's like, I mean, you have to establish genre separately of the log line anyway. So
right. So in the full thing, it says logline parentheses full-length feature rock opera musical.
See,
close parentheses.
Now I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
See,
yeah, it's pretty cool.
See, at that point, I say drop that and the vampires thing in. Go for the gusto because you're already going to be doing that once you know going in. This is what you're in for. Yeah.
It's I'm trying to tone it to a more teen audience right now. So, like a WB CW kind of vibe.
Yeah. So, shades of Hot Topic in my head, just saying.
Yes. What I wouldn't do to, have something in Hot Topic. That'd be pretty cool.
Right. Get Hot Topic to sponsor. Wouldn't that be cool?
That's right.
Now you're talking. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, let's go.
You can tie it in somehow with the popularity of Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
I mean, he has brought musicals back to the forefront of culture.
Yes. And I love him for that. So.
I could just see the pitch meeting. It's like In the Heights with blood.
In the Heights with vampires.
Right.
Exactly.
All right. Okay. So are we ready for the next log line?
Yes, we're ready. Let's do it.
All right. A thief must steal a liver for a dying mafia don located on a freighter carrying black market harvested organs. But when she discovers abducted illegal immigrants on board, she must use her skills to rescue them.
First thought, I love that your protagonist is a female because it's not usual for this kind of genre. As soon as I hear Mafia Don, I'm like, how did she get into this trouble? So it makes me want to learn more about her. Why does a Mafia Don need harvested organs? Is there a shortage? Or maybe it's for his kid or, something like that.
And that's the part about stealing the liver, and he's dying, so he needs the liver.
Oh, it's for him.
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
The harvested organ trade is a big deal, and some people, sociopaths who have the money and the means, might not want to be on a waiting list. They might want to jump right to the top and get that liver.
Right.
I think if you can maybe include that as the ticking clock, has to steal a liver for a Mafia Don before
he dies.
Yeah, that puts a ticking clock on it. That's cool.
I don't know, because then we have to find out, well, why does she care if this Mafia Don dies? If the Don dies, the pressure's off.
That's true.
Yeah, and that is the tricky part, because the thief would have to be practically held at gunpoint to do it. So,
or somebody the thief cares about.
Yeah, and that's the part of it that I don't think made it into the log line, because her girlfriend is one of the abducted illegal immigrants.
Oh, see, there's a twist.
Yeah.
Yes. I like it. I like that there's a turn, you know, like all of a sudden she's on this path and then she changes her path to go be the good person. I mean, that's an impactful story arc for her. So
yeah.
On the whole, I like it.
What we just learned, well, now we're not sure if she's doing it because it's the right thing to do or because her girlfriend is one of them.
And see, that could be a good character arc for that thief because she's already in a kind of life like that. What if she were trying to get out of it? So, so all those possibilities. But to the point is it's clear that the log line, and to your point, Denise, is that it's a work in progress and probably needs those elements in there. But I'm glad I knew them enough to be able to tell you them now.
Right. Yeah, I have questions. Like, if I read that, I would pick it up just from the point that I know it's a girl protagonist in this kind of genre, which you don't see. So I would be interested to at least read the first 10 pages. So I hate to say it, but I think you got this week. So we're at 2-1.
Yay, I got one! Brian, do you concur?
I do.
Cool.
I do. That would have been the first one.
Quit.
Yeah.
Honestly, after the day I've had, this is a win. I'll take it.
All right.
100%. But thank you for weighing in on that, Brian and Denise. 10-1 says next podcast you're going to get that one. I'll just have to come up with something even better next time.
It's rough right now.
Sorry, what?
It's rough right now. The project I'm working on, it has to do with Nazis and boxing, and I don't write sports very well, I've realized. And yeah, it's been a challenge. I've been watching like all these old boxing movies and reading the scripts alongside, and man, I just don't. It's not me. I don't care. That's a tricky one. I was starting to think about, like, if I were to approach one, how would I do it? And I started thinking about the movie Rudy, and people get really very passionate about that movie in many ways. And especially when I tell them that movie is not about football, they're like, of course it's about football. No, it's about chasing your dream. Right.
And because that's what Rudy Rudiger was doing, that the whole point of that story is encapsulated in this one scene that I love in the movie the most, where Ned Beatty playing his Sean Astin's Rudy Rudiger. I mean, that Ned Beatty plays Mr. Rudiger, his father. And he tells him, like, Rudy's about to go back to Notre Dame after coming home from a semester where he couldn't get into Notre Dame. He's going to community college. He's trying his hard, working his heart out. Comes to find out his girlfriend from high school is dating his brother. You know, there's a chance to go back to work for the factory. His dad doesn't approve of what he's doing. His dad literally tells him at the bus stop, you know, chasing your dreams does no one any good, and there's no point to it. And I'm like, it made me so angry, because there's nothing better than chasing your dream. You know, there's nothing better than having a real goal, and to have your own father tell you that. It would, as a father now, I don't want to do that to my son. It made me so angry. If it can get under your skin like that, a scene like that, and tell you, you're like, okay, this guy's doing everything he can for his dream, like pursuing a dream of film. So it's a very impactful scene, a very emotional, charged moment for me, because it got under my skin, and it actually served the rest of the story very well the rest of the way, because Rudy just kept going no matter what happened to him the rest of the movie. And likewise in real life, since it was based on a true story. So all that to say that the trick to a sports movie, I guess, is really the emotion behind the sport. What do you guys think?
I agree 100%. I had a similar experience with my wife when she and I reconnected about 8 years ago. We were trying to get to know each other a little bit, and she was asking what movies were important to me, and one of the first ones I came up with was Rocky. And she's like, I've never really been interested in Rocky because I don't really care for boxing. And it's like, well, it's not a boxing movie. Like, what do you mean it's not a boxing movie? Rocky is a love story. Like, what? I was like, after all his struggles in that movie, through his life up to that point, the first thing he does after he gets through that boxing match is call out for the love of his life.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't care about the title. He doesn't care whether he won or lost. He wants Adrian.
Yeah.
And then I made her watch it, and she's like, she said, with tears pouring down her eyes, right. And I said with tears pouring down my eyes, I know I'm right.
And how long are you married now?
4 years.
Nice. Are you still right, or is it still like?
Oh yeah, it's a Thanksgiving tradition. We watch Rocky every year.
Aw. Cool. Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah.
Cool. So Denise, there you go. I mean, if anything, I could see why you went with the logline you did, because it's a palate cleanser. From something like that.
Well, I don't write happy endings, so one day I'll figure one out, but they're not real. So, anyways, on that happy note,
right? Exactly. Let's talk about Brian and his project. Let's get into you, sir. Let's do that.
Yes.
So, Denise?
Yeah. So I don't want to give anything away about your story, but I know you have like a dual career path. So you have experience in theater, you have experience behind the camera. I know you've worked on both coasts, but just give us a little bit of like your journey until now.
Well, I've been interested in space travel since infancy. My very earliest memory is the last of the Apollo moon launches. I have a very clear memory of me in my diaper on the green shag carpet in my Levitowner. I wasn't even a year old yet, watching the television, and what I remember, the image of a stick going up into the sky with fire coming out the back. And I asked my mom, what's that? And she said, that's the men going to the moon. So I've been interested in space travel literally since I was born. And my earliest TV memory was watching reruns of Star Trek. And then the summer I was 5 years old, summer I turned 6, when Star Wars came out, and that was it. But what actually did it for me was when I saw the making of Star Wars probably a year ago. I said, that's what I want to do. And that's awesome. And then from that impetus, that's where I got into theater, just for the acting experience. Yeah. And I've always been a natural performer. I've actually been more comfortable throughout my youth performing than when I wasn't.
Yes, that I can. Yep, 100% there with you.
And then Denise, you and I did what, 3 community theater shows together?
Yeah, I think so.
Annie Get Your Gun.
Yep.
Sugar, which is the stage version of Some Like It Hot.
Yes.
And the Pajama Game.
I love that show. Yeah, I've always been trying to make Some Like It Hot like have a comeback because I think it would do so well now, like a modern day Birdcage.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
the movie has never lost its popularity.
No. Yeah, I love it. Memories.
Although it's interesting nowadays in today's climate, it would be an interesting challenge to see how do you address these things and be respectful to those walks of life, and not turn it into a Milton Berle gag, or Milton Berle. I don't know why I said Burley. But the idea being that, how do you make Some Like It Hot relevant today when you've got RuPaul's Drag Race on Paramount Plus and trans rights are a big issue now, all those things. I think it'd be cool to see it happen. So yeah,
I mean, it's in the works. It's like, Project 50.
Right. Yeah, it's way on the list. But speaking of projects, Brian, you've got one called Dull Space.
Yes.
Going back to your point about space travel, your interest, which I'm real psyched about because you're talking my language. Star Trek, Star Wars. My dad was in the Air Force, so I grew up with a picture on my wall of the Shuttle Enterprise.
Okay.
So it was so cool. You're filming in 6 weeks, and again, congratulations, because anytime you take it from script to screen, it's monumental. I don't care if it's short, feature length, whatever. It's a Herculean task that anyone trying to take on, people should be looking at us as if we're saints for wanting to be filmmakers, just saying. So the first incarnation of this project was back in 2008, right?
Well, if you want to really take it back to the beginning, I started writing it, yes, in 2008. I had started writing it as a short film project for myself and an actress friend. I ended up leaving LA before we ever got a chance to work on it together. I lived in Colorado for about 6 months, and then I came back to Philadelphia. And I put it down for a while. I kind of just turned my back on the film industry for a lot of reasons. My own mental health, for starters, because it can be soul crushing. And I got work in the theater almost immediately upon returning to Philadelphia. I'm the production manager for a ballet conservatory. So I was working on stage for a long time. And then after about 4 years, the itch got to me again. I was like, I should do something with this, particularly because a famous local filmmaker's daughter was a student at the school that I worked for. So I thought, oh, this might be a good opportunity. So I did a staged reading of it at the school. That famous filmmaker ended up not ever coming. I really didn't expect him to, but I had to take the chance. But that got the gears working again. And I had a lot of support from friends in the creative field here in Philadelphia. So in 2017, I think, I did another staged reading. I changed the script a little bit to reflect some new actors that I wanted to work with that I had met between the first reading and the second reading. So I kind of diversified the cast a little bit. And I got a lot of positive buzz from that. And one friend in particular who was in development said, you got to try to move forward with this in a serious way. And I think a great step for you to do that would be a Philly Fringe show. So she kind of nudged me in that direction. That's when I adapted the Philly Fringe play. Now the script as I had originally written it was much bigger than what it is right now. It was a multi-character piece, multiple settings, and involved a space launch, and involved walking on the surface of the moon. And the director that I had hired to help with the adaptation wanted to go full out with that. And we met with a lighting designer who I'm still working with on this, actually, by the way. A guy named Stefan Dedizian, who's just a brilliant theater technician. We were going to do digital projection, 3D mapping. It would have been like nothing that had been seen on the Fringe stage before. Unfortunately, the money never came together for it. So my lead actor, he kind of had to move on. The director wasn't interested in doing a scaled down version of it. And I was ready to walk away. But then the current development director of the Rock School said, I think we still have something here, and I think you should go ahead with it. I think it would be a benefit for the school to act as your producer, offer you the space, because we have a means of getting people inside the school that might not otherwise have come in. So I think there's a benefit for both of us here. So I did something that I kind of instinctually wanted to do before, and that was the Thornton Wilder version of the script, where it's just 2 actors, 2 chairs, some lights, a backdrop, and a bunch of sound effects. That's what I ended up doing, and it was very successful and much more manageable than the stage epic, the science fiction Ben-Hur that it was in danger of becoming. So with the success of the Fringe performance, the actors I was working with, I just tossed out the idea to them, like, what do you think about working on this right away as a short film? And both their eyes lit up. Now, I had a little bit of a concern because my actress is a SAG member. But she said, I think I can make it work somehow. We'll get the money. We'll do whatever we have to. So we started working on it right away. I started building a set in my upstairs spare bedroom. God bless my wife. Oh, wow. I have a full-size spaceship cockpit up there right now.
Wow.
I could send you guys some pictures if you want to edit this.
Please.
Yeah, please do.
And then COVID hit, and everything ground to a halt.
Yep.
So in a lot of ways, it ended up being a blessing because it gave me a lot more time to work on the details of the set than I would have had otherwise. It's going to be a much prettier thing than it would have before. Honestly, we just wanted to get some kind of product out there so we could get it seen. But now we've had the time to create something with a little more attention to detail. Also, along those lines, because of the pandemic, Screen Actors Guild introduced something called the micro-budget contract, which my actress, Rebecca, looked into. So because actors aren't working, SAG is willing to allow them to work on projects that might not otherwise have fit into a SAG formula.
Wow,
so,
that's cool.
Because we have basically no budget.
Right.
And we're not planning to take this anywhere except festivals. We're not going to make any profit off of this. She has a full green light to perform as a SAG actor.
That's awesome. And it also gives your, they say the same thing about equity. It gives that label, that honor, that distinction from all the other. Yeah.
And I think it's going to open us up to some festivals that we might not otherwise have been open to as well.
Absolutely.
That's cool. Do you think that time where you weren't specifically filming, did you make any changes to your story or change the script in any way?
Yes, I'd mentioned that when I'd made the 2017 adaptation that I had diversified the cast. Unfortunately, because I had lost the actors that I had rewritten the script for at that point, I just kind of reached out to two friends that I knew who were talented and available. And I went back to the first draft of the script where I had written it for myself and an Irish friend. So to some extent, it's unfortunate that I had to undiversify the story, but it's definitely still in the family.
Do you think that made it
American actor that I had been working with before? I got his full blessing because he just wants to see the script happen.
Yeah, that's awesome. See, I love when people are invested. Do you think that the heart of the story is still there because you did that stripped down version? You know what I mean? Like that's the story you wanted to tell and everything else is just bells and whistles.
Absolutely. That's exactly what I stripped it down to, the heart. Everything else would have been spectacle, frankly.
Yeah.
And it would have helped cinematically, but it didn't help the story.
Huh. Yeah.
So, in the interest of the idea that you presented it as a stage play first, you have a theater background. It presents us with an interesting opportunity to pick your brain from the idea of playwriting or theater versus screenwriting and film, where you've crossed over from one to the other. So obviously formatting's an obvious difference between the two. But you've already talked about the differences of what you went to from going from a screenplay, then doing the staged, like, two-person version, now your short film. You've taken us on that journey. So along that path, which is the medium that you think, this is a kind of a two-part question, really. Which is the medium that you prefer personally? And then for this project, even though you still have yet to film it, which is the medium you think it can exist best in?
I had never written a stage play before. I had written sketches, scenes, but that's it. I'd never written a stage play. Written plenty of screenplays, all of which were unsolicited. Unsuccessful, I guess, is one way of looking at it. But I think I've been intrinsically drawn to screenwriting since childhood. I started writing my first space epic when I was in junior high.
Oh, cool. Cool. I think Denise and I share the same rationale. I think we both, I think my first attempt at screenwriting, I guess I was 16. I started trying to learn it, trying to write it.
Yeah.
I would never go back to any of that and try to revisit it for any reason.
I still want to remake my Monopoly Massacre, which was a stop motion animation movie I made. So on film, 16 millimeter.
Wow, I want to see that.
Get that on YouTube.
Oh yeah, totally. I will send it to you privately.
Okay.
I'm saying that something like that would probably become like a cult classic to most people's minds. I really see that happening.
Yeah.
So I got another interesting question for you, Brian. So recently, space films have become extraordinarily big. We've seen Apollo 11, the documentary with all that remastered footage of the launch, become sort of a big draw for documentary seekers. Then we've had The Martian, which is one of my favorites. Gravity, which I love because it's a stripped down story, 90 minutes, low commitment, you're in, you're out. Interstellar, Hidden Figures, the list kind of goes on from there from 2015 forward. Do you feel ever like when you're looking at your story, do you find yourself as a writer worrying about comparing to those just from an audience perspective of how they can parse against product?
Of course. Yeah. But, you know, the train's already left the station, so I got to keep moving with it.
Amen. And what about the story is it that you want to champion most?
It's not so much the story. It's just that I feel like I have not, to this point in my life, and I'm going to be 50 in 2 months, succeeded at completing a project like this before. And my actors, although they're both successful, they kind of feel the same about being involved in a project that has started from the ground up like this.
That's amazing that you've had people stick with you. That means that, you know, they feel it, you know. That's huge, especially when you're now like producing the work that you wrote. I've
always felt like an actor's writer. Maybe it's because I am an actor myself, but you know, I've done readings of every script I've ever written, and the actor's like, "This is amazing. I have so much fun with this script and these characters." And then, you know, you get into the development people, and they're like, "Eh."
Yeah. 100% there with you.
Yeah.
Do you feel differently about your own work now that you are producing it yourself?
No, I mean, I look back at my past projects, and I'm like, they would need a lot of work to be brought up to today's filmmaking standards. So I really feel like I'm in a different place with this particular project.
And
so
then
this is the one I was destined to make happen.
Make happen.
Rock on.
What if you had to tell somebody what this story was about? Because I know it's a science fiction, and from what I get from it, it's a story about how people relate to each other. Even though we have all these differences, there's this common connection that we have to have. How would you sell it? Like, what's your pitch? Like, give me an elevator pitch.
Go ahead, I'm sorry, Chris.
No, I was going to say, here we go.
I call it slice of life science fiction. My idea is to look into the future and see how we would exist in our day-to-day lives when time, technology, and distance have taken us off of this world. You know, no matter what, you know, kind of a spaceship we're traveling in or how far away from home we are, we still have to interact with each other. And how we do that is going to be as important in 100 years as it was 200,000 years ago.
You know what? Based on that, and I think all three of us are science fiction fans, and it's an understood that science fiction, when it's really working its engine like so well, all the gears are turning in the right way. The best science fiction warns you of something. What do you think Dull Space, in that capacity, does it warn the viewer about something? And what is that warning?
I mean, the warning is window dressing. One of my impulses to start writing it was my dissatisfaction with science fiction at the time. That there seemed to be, and this is going back 15 years at this point. There seemed to be no danger into going into space anymore. If you wanted to leave the surface of the planet, it was just like getting in the car and driving to the shore. You just get up and do it, and there was no risk. If you wanted to go to the next planet or the next star system away, you simply spin up the FTL or engage the warp drives or jump to hyperspace. Now, a lot of science fiction movies, like you mentioned, The Martian, they usually involve some kind of calamity. And Dull Space does that too, but I think it's in a different way. It's like movies like The Martian, the plot is all about addressing the calamity itself, whereas in Dull Space, the calamity is a window into how people interact in a stressful situation.
That's interesting, especially since it's very clear from the press pack that there's a genuine relationship between two people that starts obviously in a very awkward way and then becomes this kind of human journey across the plethora of it. And what's funny is, as I'm reading it, and yes, it's set in a science fiction context, but for some reason, Before Sunrise hit in my head, that kind of slice of life of where two people meet and have this very special experience together. Were you informed at the core for your characters by any one piece or any one thing, or was it your relationship with your wife that informed this story?
Well, I'd written it before my wife and I were in a relationship, but I'd say it was definitely informed by my relationships with other people, ex-girlfriends, people I worked with, things like that.
Yeah, I can't wait to see it, truthfully. I mean, I love that it's truly a story about people. And I mean, they always say, write what you know. So if we don't know people, what are we writing about?
Yeah.
So, and I think that the setting, I mean, you could put this, I feel you could put this story anywhere, but the fact that you put it in this journey makes it more, I don't, compressed is not the right word, but like more distinct. Like you have to talk to each other or you're not going to have anybody to talk to,
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So I just,
and there's a difference between the two characters. She's dying to talk to him, and he's like, I'll just shut up and let me do my business here, please, so we can get this over with.
Yeah. It's like being on a tour bus. There's the people that just like, and I'm like, I have a report that's due. So, but yeah, I feel for your characters. I feel for both of them in a different way. So I'm super excited. I want to see it. So tell us about like your process of getting this on the screen. So you said festivals. What's your timetable going to be like?
Well, as you guys said, we start filming in 6 weeks. We have a 20-day shoot spread out over a period of a month. And then, everybody involved in the project has a full-time job. My director of photography is going back to school.
Wow.
So we pretty much have to get it done in August, or otherwise we're going to run out of time, and we're just going to be working on weekends for eternity.
Yeah.
So assuming we finish by September 12th, like we plan to, I go back to work. I'm I'll be working on Nutcracker right up till Christmas. I think my editor and I will be working nights and weekends, probably right through the winter. Hopefully, we'll start submitting to festivals in the spring.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I think you can do it. I mean, come on. It's only a day job. It's the Nutcracker. It happens every year.
Yeah, it happens through a lot of blood, sweat, and exhaustion on my part.
There you go. Well, and the same can be said for making this film, but I'm actually working on the music score for a science fiction film from one of our colleagues. And she shot it probably earlier in this January in like a 15-day shoot, and it's a 90-minute feature. So we're hoping to be locked on score by August 1st. So we'll see how that goes. Because she was just finishing up visual effects, probably from, I think, the schedule of the visual effects alone was quite a lengthy one for her. I know. I don't want to put, words in her mouth or speak for her, but it can be done. I mean, your 20-day shoot sounds like it's totally plausible, and I mean, everybody everywhere is making films outside of Hollywood that are next level. Like, they can compete very well in terms of grabbing viewership. So I'm with Denise. I think you can pull it off. You have an emotional core to your story just from the press.
Yeah. And I actually think it'll do really well at festival because of that emotional connection to the people. And I think that's something that's missing from a lot of movies today. So I think that you're going to pull at the heartstrings.
I hope so.
Yeah, plus, I hope so too.
Plus, you're taking people to a place they can't really, they won't necessarily see. It's very much you may not have intended this, but it sounds like a project that's very pandemic inspired in a way. People contained in a space.
Yeah, I certainly did not intend that, but yeah, it certainly turned out that way. I actually wrote a COVID edit to the script where the actors never took off their space helmets. Fortunately, we all got vaccinated, and we just tossed that edition, but it was a possibility for a good long while.
See, that could be the comedy version.
That's right. That's in the bloopers reel.
If you ever want to flip it, like just edit together a 30-minute version where it's almost like watching Dr. Evil in a spacesuit from the second Austin Powers movie going, "What the F, a-hole?" Okay, so where can we find out more information and stay up to date on what's going on with Dull Space? I mean, what would be our best way to keep up with you, find out more about it? And if someone's interested in investing, how could they do that?
The GoFundMe has updates as they come in. I just did an update today. That would be the best spot, and I think I see it popping up below me.
Yes, there's the.
We want to make sure that we're helping to champion this because we're championing every screenwriting multi-hyphenate out there. Denise and I both fall into that category too. So,
I mean, truthfully, I don't think you can survive as just being a writer anymore unless you just happen to fall into some amazing project. I think the only way, because our views are so unique and so specific to the passion that we have, I think you have to go out there. You have to go out there and make your own work. I mean, I'm behind you, Brian. I'm like 6 months behind you. I hope to film in 2022. So,
all right.
Yeah.
I agree. And the means are there now that weren't there when we were kids.
Absolutely.
Oh man, if I had the equipment I had now, then it's like. And a lot of people are taking a lot of that democratization for granted. For example, you talked about being in LA and then moving away from it, and now you're in Philadelphia, which actually has a pretty strong community of people making films out there. I mean, your M. Night Shyamalan, local boy making good there. But in the case of, in Arizona where Denise is, or Texas where I am, there's always been somebody trying to move things along. And nobody's, recreated a studio system in any of these states. But what I'm finding out from people I know in LA that I talk to is that the fact that all of us can make our own stuff, we have an edge where we don't have to go out to LA to try to sell our wares. We're creating our own content, and people can find us. So
you mentioned that. One of the reasons I left LA, and also one of the inspirations for Dull Space, was traffic.
Just needing that breathing room, right?
Yeah. I mean, I had a 14-mile commute that took 90 to 120 minutes every day. That's where I started writing Dull Space.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that we can do what we want to do now without being in that setting is a benefit to everybody.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, let's say for a hypothetical, Dull Space picks up a lot of steam, and you get interest from people business-wise in Los Angeles. Would you still find yourself pushing to try to continue to stay making films in Philadelphia? Or, I mean, given that a lot of people from LA are moving, a lot of people in California are moving elsewhere now.
Yeah.
Do you see yourself going back at any point?
No, not to live. Not at all.
Only for the Oscars or the SAG Awards
Exactly.
or the SGAs. Yeah, sure.
I mean, I would certainly go there to conduct business, but no, my home is here now.
I think a lot of people feel that same way. But you know what? There's a Saturn Award in your future.
Yeah.
There's a strong possibility for that. We'll see that. All right.
From your mouth to God's ears.
Hey, for all of us. Hey, all boats, you know, what is that thing they say? All boats rise with the tide.
Yeah.
So, and that's another reason for our podcast. We want to support and champion everybody because we want to be successful too. You know?
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Absolutely.
So, like, I don't know. I just sound very California. Oh my God. Like, I'm going to totally do this. I'm going to post the GoFundMe link on our social media. So look out for that. I'm also going to put up some pictures that we have. So that should be cool. And then I'll keep you updated with information as I get it. So
awesome.
Yeah. I have one final question.
Yes.
You sort of answered it, but I'm going to take this in a different way. My question was going to be, what do you love more, theater or film? But I'm gonna put it back because, you know, I lived in Philly too for a little bit. So I'm gonna go with, who makes the better cheesesteak?
Oh,
Giuseppe's an Ambler.
Nice.
That's the thing. Any Philadelphian you ask that question of, they're going to tell you the cheesesteak they grew up with.
Yeah. I was actually, funny story. I was talking with a friend of mine from high school. And we were talking about, like, the first time I ever had a cheesesteak. We didn't cut school, but we cut school. And I know. Well, we cut school because we were, like, musical theater kids, and we were like, we could do this. We went down the South Street. It was my first time ever, like, on South Street. Even though I grew up in New York City, I was like, this is different. And we had both cheesesteaks that day. And I don't remember either, but we were just talking about having that memory of them watching me eat my first cheesesteak.
So
I think I was an adult before I went to either Pat's or Geno's.
Yeah. You know, there's a Geno's out here in Arizona.
Is there really?
Yep, there's two Phoenix locations.
Geno's Steaks or Geno's Burgers?
Nope. Geno's, they call them Geno's Philly Steaks out here.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
See, unfortunately, I'm going to be the weirdo on this one. I don't like cheese, so.
I don't eat red meat anymore, so we're all there.
Yeah.
I have veggie cheesesteaks now. It's not the same.
How does that work?
I'd say that would be the same.
It's all about the cheese sauce.
Now, funny enough, not long after I moved back to Pennsylvania and lived actually in the city of Philadelphia, I went to a place just off Columbus Boulevard called John's Roast Pork. And that was such a good sandwich. I didn't eat a cheesesteak again for years.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is actually probably the most Philly sandwich you can get anymore.
Yeah, and I think it's sort of like a lost icon of the city. It's like a very 70s, 80s, 90s thing to do, but now it's not so much.
Yeah, it's definitely made a comeback in recent years.
Yeah.
See, you guys got to Texas and experience barbecue, because we've got shades of barbecue that are, you know, one is so different from the other. We're having a battle with Kansas City right now as to who has the best barbecue.
That's a tough one. I've had it in both places.
I'm not sure I've had Texas barbecue, but I've had Tennessee, Kentucky, West Virginia, Missouri, Florida.
And everyone is proud of
Carolina. I've had Carolina barbecue. I live in North Carolina.
North Carolina's got some heat on theirs, that's for sure.
I love it.
There's no question. See, this is what we need to do. We need to write a screenplay about food competition.
Yes.
And then we can go to them all.
There you go. And we'll make it, it'll be like Sideways, except where, they drive to all these different, like, so which cheesesteak competition we're going to next week? I could just see this turning very Wedding Crashers really quick. I don't know why.
Well, after all three of us are successful with our current projects, we'll get together and we'll work on this one together.
Right.
Awesome.
I got it. We'll call it 3 short films about food.
All right.
It'll be like 32 short films about Glenn Gould, except different.
All right. We are good on food for right now. And speaking of food, it's almost dinner time. So
it's actually past my bedtime on the East Coast. So.
Oh. I am gonna watch episode 2 of Picard tonight. I just started last night.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Keep me posted. I need to catch up.
Very, very cool.
Yeah, I need to watch. I still have a lot of Star Trek to catch up on. I skipped on Discovery and went straight to Lower Decks, which is actually my favorite Star Trek series right now.
I've heard that from some people, yeah.
I was going to buy it, but then I was like, wait, if I get Paramount Plus, I get to see all of the Star Treks. And I was like, let's just do it. So,
see, that's twice we've mentioned them. I think they owe us a kickback. I'm just saying.
Yes, yeah. I'll take any Funko Pops that you have.
There you go. All right, Denise, give us an outro.
Woo! All right. On the next episode, we're super excited. We're going to be talking with screenwriter and producer Chap Taylor, who has written screenplays for all of the major studios and producers like Brian Grazer and Scott Rudin.
Cool. Yeah, I think we're also going to have another round of Logline Thunderdome, and Denise wants a rematch. So I'm actually shaking in my custom-made baby seal boots. Yes, I quoted Megamind. What? And okay, but for all our watchers out there, our growing legion of supporters, follow us on Facebook.com/tellingtheshow. On Twitter, it's @tellingtheshow, or email us if you're feeling old school. Email us at tellingtheshow@gmail.com. And
I don't want to take your departing words of wisdom because they are brilliant. So I'm going to leave that to you. But Brian, I want to say thank you so much for taking the time and almost staying up to your bedtime. I know it's hard.
Thanks for having me on.
I'm there with you. When it's late. Oh, nope. I've been trying to schedule a call with Dubai. And they're like, do you want to call us at 10:30 a.m.? And I'm like, no, that's 2:30 a.m. for me. No, thank you. So, nope. But yes, departing words of wisdom by one of my favorite filmmakers, J.J. Abrams.
Actually, Denise, since I took like 4 of these 5 outro bullet points, why don't you take this quote?
I don't want to tap on the mic, J.J. style. So, famous departing words of wisdom. All I know is that I've made some big screw ups, and I've done some things that I've done all right. I just keep trying to learn from the mistakes I've made.
Said every screenwriter ever.
Ever. Yeah.
Ever.
I'm never done. I'm always revising.
Well, and hell, you get take a look at Ridley Scott. I mean, how many different versions of Blade Runner have we got now?
Yeah. I think Orson Welles said, editing is never completed, simply abandoned.
Yeah. That's why studios like to put tentpole dates.
Yeah. True.
So by this date, I don't care what shape it's in. I don't care if it's like The Room. We're shipping it out to theaters.
And that's why Hollywood movies look like they do today.
Oh.
For sure.
And on that note, we should probably close out the show before we get ourselves in.
Edit that out.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing this with us, Brian. This is going to be special, and we our prayers are with you every single day of shooting.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
And keep us posted. Let us know what's happening when you have a trailer, any snippets. Let us know. We'll share them. And yeah, keep us posted and put us down for 2 tickets.
All right.
Yes.
You got it.
Yes.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.